That's why I feel like this album is like fly introspection. Like that's how I put it. It's
Yeah.
just so unique.
Mhm. Yeah, because
Thank you.
we're all like we're fun people at the end of the day. We're not just like some like we be going down, we wilding out like in a positive way and maybe sometimes in a negative way, but nobody needs to know that.
Speak for
But
yourself.
Microphone check 1 2. What is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service.
Here we are again at the end of a rainbow.
On this show, I know I've used terms like unique or one of a kind quite a bit to describe the various artists I've had on as guests, but I promise you, today's guests truly embody these terms to the absolute fullest degree. Maassai and JWords, otherwise known as Air, are a duo hailing from Brooklyn who sport an ingenious sound that blends electronics, drum and bass, dance with hip hop, supplied by producer JWords, as well as a confident, heady, effortlessly fly set of rhymes from the MC of the group, Maassai. Great in their own right as solo artists, surely. Together, though, they are an entirely different beast. In this episode, we discuss their chemistry as a duo, the origin story of Air, growth and maturation, as well as the making of their fantastic Album of the Year contender released on Big Dada, HeadSpace. The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth artist interviews, album reviews, and general rap commentary on the best that the underground rap scene has to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show. Maassai, JWords, how you guys doing today?
hey, doing pretty good today.
Yeah, enjoying the sweet potato pie?
Yep.
I'm really happy to have you guys on because I really feel like the moment I first heard an Air joint that my mind was pretty fucked. Like I was like, whoa, this is not like these are not following the formulas, processes with hip hop that I'm used to in music, really, because I've definitely a person that listens to all kinds of music, a lot of electronic music. But even then, hearing dance music or dance adjacent music like that with the rap element done in this kind of way was just never done to me. So just razor sharp as you guys did it. And I'm happy to report that, you're one of the most highly recommended artists, I think, I can think of that I personally recommend to other people because I feel like your style of music lends itself to a lot of ears because obviously rap fans, I'll definitely tell them about you, but even some friends that are not really super into rap, but they like music or like dance music, electronic music. I'm like, oh, you might like this. And often they're like, holy shit, this is so weird. I've never heard anything like this. And I'm curious to know what you've observed. Has your fan base been mostly, you'd say, like indie rap fans, or have they been mostly like primarily electronic or dance music fans?
I think our fan base is like a mix of like both hip hop and electronic, but like I feel like our main fan base are people that enjoy music in general, you know what I mean? Like are not like confining themselves to like one specific genre and just enjoy like authentic, real, genuine music, because that's what we make. Regardless of like what genre people try to place us in, like at the end of the day, we're just being ourselves. So I think a lot of our fans are people that are usually themselves.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a mixture. I remember on Velocity, like I think we asked one time, like, what are your favorite songs? And we can kind of tell by like how like what favorite song people had and why, like what they probably like the most, or like what type of music they probably like the most. But I do think that it's just like fusion music, genre bending music in general. It can't really be placed in a box.
Yeah, I think definitely the commonality I've noticed in people that I know really love your music is just being open-minded and people to just appreciate music first and foremost. They're not trying to be confined. They don't really care about, oh, I only listen to this music because that's like my identity is I'm a rap fan. It's like, that's not the vibe. And, you know, no matter what type of listeners you're getting, I do hope that this signing with Big Dada, you know, helps further grow your fan base, because, you know, they're a very reputable label. And I do understand they went through a kind of shift, being run mainly by like Black POC folks to amplify those same folks. And that's really dope. And not just the mission statement, but I feel like the way they packaged this record was so good. Like the marketing, like the video for Backwards was crazy. And even just like the consistency with everything, like the general kind of gray aesthetic has just been like carried out through everything. I just think it's been really, really well done. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, how has it felt being the whole signing like experience, and how have you benefited, you think, from this this relationship with them so far?
I think that overall, like Big Dada has been so super supportive, and the team has been like really cool to work with. And it's great, as you know, it's great to work with Black and POC people, because I feel like that doesn't happen that often, like in this type of setting and capacity. Will say that creatively, like we had 100% like complete creative control, and all of the photo shoots, the album art, like everything was like our visions that we brought to life with the help of friends, and Big Dada like supporting us through the process of like achieving whatever our visions was. And yeah, it's been really cool to have a team for real, because we've been just doing things by ourselves.
Yeah, the Backwards video, we had that idea when we first heard the song. I feel like we've been having like the suit idea for a while. That was like our thing, even like during the Velocity phase and stuff. So, and this album art kind of came together last minute, because what we wanted in our brains, it was kind of like, it was going to take a little bit longer to achieve, I feel like, because we would have to go through a bunch of different graphic designers to achieve. And this, we kind of came together like last minute, and we were like, wait, we could just crop this picture here, and then the back of the album could be like the other half of the picture. And like, we wanted something with our heads and like obviously space, because it says space. So
Oh,
we were
true.
able
I
to achieve that.
didn't even make that connection. That's nice.
Yeah, so we were able to achieve that with this photo right here, shot by our friend Yada, which she did like a lot of our photo shoots for this campaign and stuff like that. So yeah, but obviously like they like, you know, amazing team, great to talk to. They have great advice, and you know, they've been there for us this whole process, you know, and made it super like smooth, you know. So shout outs to them for sure. Like, it's been great working with them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, because I think I recently copped the wax, so I'm excited to see that in person. It's a really nice one.
And like them giving us that, you know, like our record, like Maasai's first record, my second record, like is very monumental. And then they like dropped back in the day like one of MF Doom's albums, so that's always, you know, to be on the same record label that he dropped something on, like rest in peace, you know, it's great. So
honored for sure.
100%. And, you know, rewinding back several years now to when you first linked up, I want to get into the Air origin story just a bit. So talk to me about how you two first connected, and like what particularly made you gravitate to one another to make you think that they could be a real musical partner.
I mean, okay, so I like telling the story, but it could be deeper than I've told in many different interviews.
At this point, I just want to change. I want to just make up a story.
Make something out, right?
You should do it. Tell me something fake. It'll be fun.
Nah, when we first met, I feel like we definitely like, it was at a showcase, and it was at this venue called The Glove that's not there anymore. And you know, there was a bunch of different artists on the bill. And me, from my perspective, I'm a producer, and I went up and did a beat set, you know, and it was one of my first beat set that I've done, you know, especially in New York. And at the time too, I've always wanted to work with other femmes. Like I always wanted to produce for other femmes and stuff like that. So when I heard Maassai that day, I was like, oh hell yeah, like I'm so down to give her beats, you know what I mean? So that was like my perspective on it. Like I was just like ready to work. Maassai had like was the best MC that night. And I was like, she's a fan, you know. I was like, hell yeah, I want to send her beats.
Yeah. And then like similarly from my same thing, like I heard her, I was like, damn, this is fire. And so we just pretty much like immediately hit it off, connected, and like became friends after that. And yeah, fast forward to 2020, we dropped Velocity.
Yeah.
Was this a couple years before Velocity that you guys met?
Yes.
That was 2017 that we
Okay.
met. So yeah, like a little 3 years of friendship before actually dropping an album together.
Yeah, we had a couple songs too. Like I was on Messiah's first EP and she was on my first album and stuff like that, you know. I was always giving her beats too. I kind of figured out what kind of beats she liked and I was like, oh, it was easier to know what kind of beat she would want to rap on. But then I just started sending her anything and then she started rapping on it. I was like, okay.
So when the idea of air really started to gain some traction in your minds, like did you have a particular vision about what the air sound should sound like?
I feel like we just thought like initially we were just like it's just like the combination of our sounds and like like it was gonna be hip hop, but it was gonna be electronic and experimental and like these things. But I do think that our sound kind of like has unfolded itself like by just continuously working together and forming something a little bit more specific than that I don't know if I could really like explain or pin down to something, but I know that we have a specific sound now for sure.
We always just trying to outdo our last self because like in Velocity we had like Toxic Behavior, which was like in our minds like a crazy ass song. So we kind of set like we were like, all right, well we always have to make some shit that past this and it's gonna keep getting crazier and stuff. So
Yeah, I can definitely hear, I mean we'll get into it when we really dive into the new record, but I can definitely hear the like more of a continued growth in terms of your chemistry. Like it's seeming like it's not, Maassai and JWords making an album together. It's air. Like and I find that's a pretty common thing now that I think about it in a lot of great duos. Like a lot of times the second album is the one that like at least often I find to be my favorite because you can kind of tell that they like really understood what worked in the first time and then they like hit the ground running the second time.
Yeah.
Like going into that chemistry a bit more, like what exactly like do you feel makes the chemistry special? Is it related to just complementary music styles or is it more intrinsic, like you said, personalities being like-minded or similar values even?
I think both of them are connected too. Like we both probably, I would consider not that we be wilding out, but I think in terms of like we both have like rebellious personalities in a way, like not trying to be like the status quo. So I feel like in turn our music styles are that way. And we both like some part like very particular things that I think make us have chemistry musically, like just like the polyrhythms and like weird syncopations and like strange rhythms, like unique dissonant like melodies and patterns.
Melancholy a little bit, like kind of dark,
Right.
glitchy. That's the thing, yeah. Like when I gave Messiah like the first beat, which was off her EP, back like under Reconstruction, right?
Oh no, just construction.
Construction. That's Construction tape, and the song is called My Name Jack, and it has a very like glitchy bass line and like a very like underground sounding type of thing, but also with like electronic textures and stuff like that. And like when I saw Messiah like that, I was like, oh, so we kind of on the same boat, like, oh shit, like, because I love making beats like this, and then you also love rapping on this, so it became clear that I was like, oh shit, okay, we on the same page, and that's how it'd be feeling like we're aligned, like we'd be going through a lot of the same things at the same time, and we're both very open and we give each other like space as friends too. Like we're not like codependent on each other at all. You know what I mean? So I think that, and like we're both that way, because I don't like codependency as like like being friends with somebody. I don't like codependency, and I know Masai doesn't like that. We could do our own thing, but we still come together and still have
Vibes.
yeah vibes. We always vibing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just been a great experience being friends with Masai and working with her. So yeah.
That's lovely. I can definitely hear that as the listener. Like it's clear that you guys enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And that often leads to great music. I definitely see that too, the like Masai, even when you're not rapping with JWords, like on, I can just think of like so many of the great features you had. I think you had at least a couple on JWorld. Is that correct? Did you have two or maybe just one?
Did I? I think I had one. I think I had one.
Okay. But either way, whatever one that was, like it just, I listened to that recently and yeah, it's just you have a particular kind of flow that's very free form. It lends itself to a lot of different styles of music to where like even when the beat, I've seen you on beat, I've heard you on beats that are like a little more quote unquote conventional in terms of rhythms, like you're still not like you're like slowing down, stopping, half giving pauses in middle. Like it's just very whatever you fucking feel like. And that makes it really interesting as a listener, but I can imagine it allows you to kind of meet the style of production that JWords meets, because in a way that you can make it work, because it sounds really hard to rap over some of this stuff, to be quite honest. Like I've heard that from other people. Spoke to I think Nappy Nina like earlier this year, they said the exact same thing. Like it's tough, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's not easy. And I love that about it because I mean, I've been rapping for a really long time. So like if it's not challenging to me, like I love beats that give me a challenge because it just sharpens my pen and sharpens my sense of musicality in general. And yeah, it's always, again, like Jen was saying, just trying to one up yourself and like, how could you approach this differently? I'm not really the type of rapper that gets on everything the same. You know, like there are a lot of people, and I love that when people have their own like specific unique style that they kind of use for everything. I think I have a unique style, but I do think that I'm pro just like switching it up and trying something completely new that I've never done before, or that, you know, is a different approach for me because it keeps it fun.
Yeah, I think there's a real like exploratory vibe or element to your music, like where I really feel like you're charting new ground. And it reminds me a lot of some other artists, and like it just reminds me a lot of jazz. I just think about a lot of jazz when I think of rappers like you. Billy Woods is another one, to where like you're not you're not following the same math as like boom boom boom, next beat, next bar, boom boom boom, and it's just really fascinating the how much you're defying convention. Because I my brain, I'm such a process logic person, and I find it so hard to even deviate when I do anything, like let alone try to rap. I don't rap, but like I just don't even know. I feel like there's different kinds of brains that can do that, and some just it's a lot harder.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, on the flip side, you know, JWords, how does working with Masai's kind of, we talked about like versatile rap style, like how does that influence your sound to be pushed into new directions or try new things?
Well, this is a good question. Nobody has ever asked me this. I feel like working with Masai, like, and seeing like the different things that she does has, you know, I'm also like not being too crazy, you know, like all the time. Like it's good to have like balance between like the wild stuff that I usually do, or, you know, being able to make like a chill, not a chill beat, but like, you know, something more like easygoing and like a little bit softer and stuff like that, you know, like in, feel like right here is me making like a soulful type beat, but like it still obviously has like textures that are electronic, but like it's also like very like chill and R&B, like hip hop style and stuff like that, instead of being too crazy and stuff, you know, because I don't always want to be too crazy. And like, and I know like the backwards beat is crazy, but like it also has a nice boom bap sound to it that I feel like I really enjoy making, you know, and it's a slower BPM. It's like 100 BPM, which usually I make like my songs like a 130 and up. So, you know, just being like kind of open-minded to making more like hip hop stuff, aside from the electronic stuff too, you know. And working with like other people like Nina and Samira, like being able to give them like something chill to rap onto is, you know. And like Glass Ceiling, that's like a more hip hop type beat, but it still has like that weird, you know, dark mood and stuff like that. So yeah, just being open to like making all different styles of stuff, you know, not just being like, oh, I have to make crazy stuff all the time, you know.
JWords be like, here's a chill beat, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I like our right here's chill. This is some like simple.
Right.
Like, it's very simple.
I have to say that is definitely something I noticed on this album, that there's a lot, because even a song like Right Here or yeah, I don't know the names top of my head, but just some of the, like several of these songs that are a little more chill, quote unquote. I think you did a really good job of like achieving that, but also there's something in the rhythms, there's something in the textures that is like still really weird. And I think Right Here, that like, I don't know what the instrument is, but that's just the main kind of jangly sound that's like
Right.
throughout the beat. Like that's like my favorite part of it. And it's like really crunchy and like that's just super cool. Like it makes the beat stand out like so nice.
Right.
What did somebody say on YouTube? They were like,
Somebody said it sounds like somebody's frying eggs, but also playing like some lo-fi hip hop beat, but also like playing some R&B chords. Like they're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I like this. I'm like, it had me thinking for a while. I'm like, damn, like did I go too crazy on this? Like, but then I'm like,
that song is hard.
yeah, it's me. Like I'm not gonna change me for anyone, you know. Because if you take that layer off, it's just like a simple, you know, it's too simple, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
And you know, speaking of being able to do your own thing, going back to what you were saying about kind of like not being codependent on one another and being able to do your own thing. Between the two records, Velocity and Headspace, like you guys have definitely been hard at work in your solo ventures as well. JWords, you've dropped some dope EPs, and then Self Connection, most notably, and the terrific Double Down with Nappy Nina, to name a few. And then Maassai, you had Personal Year 8, and then what I think is my favorite solo work of yours, with the Shifts, and then dope features, as I mentioned earlier. So you've both been busy. So I wonder, like, how does your solo work kind of feed back into what you do as Air in terms of, you know, bringing new ideas or creative approaches to what you do as a group?
Mm.
Usually I make a lot of beats and stuff like that. So I like randomly like I message Messiah with some beat that I think she will sound dope on, and that's how usually we start all our projects. I feel like I just be sending her a folder of beats and I'll be like, oh here, I see if you could none of these any of these, see if you could write to.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like for me, I'm a very like project oriented person. So like I'm the type of person that starts a project and like has a concept for it and like sees it all the way through. And then I'm like, okay, done with this project, new project
Right.
type of person. So I think that in my personal work, I take a kind of slow time, just like executing my ideas and like just being in that space. And I think that like coming to back to Air feels like I'm in this new school of thought. Like I'm in this new school of thought for whatever process I'm in at that moment. And so I think that different things tend to come out of me in different stages of like my creativity.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that on this new record, because my main takeaway from Headspace is that from like a both lyrical, musical perspective, you both sound very sure of yourself and like operating at the peak of your powers. And if I focus on the lyrics to start, it quickly became apparent to me why the album was called Headspace, because you've got so many standouts in this very introspective vein. Rotation has like so many life lessons. Static, you have like one of my favorite lines I've heard in a long time, where you say like, how you looking for a bandage from the one doing damage?
Right.
That hit me so personally in such a real way, because I was
Right.
just like, I'm doing that. Like you hurt me and I
I'll do it.
still I
Yeah.
still,
Right.
and I want you to make me feel better. It's like, why?
Right.
That's so messed up. That's so illogical. And
And it's crazy
uh,
because we both been like, well, me personally, I don't know, I can't speak about my side, but I went through something similar, and that line actually, I was explaining to my sister. I'm like, this is nuts. This song is nuts. Like I was like soup talking about it, explaining every line to my sister, and like realizing that I was going through it the same like as those lyrics were there. Like I'm going through that process myself right now too. So this is wild that Messiah wrote those lyrics. That's what I mean. Like we're just being tuned and aligned because I gave her that beat, but then she like wrote what I was feeling, or going through in my life at that moment, So yeah, that song is very powerful. I feel like.
that's wild that you had that experience that way. Because yeah, I feel like it's not only just the isolated moments. I just feel it's the consistency. That's the thing I really took away from this record is like, wow, it's so consistently peppered in throughout the whole album, really, these ideas of self, like discovering yourself, dealing with self-doubt, accepting yourself. It's just really remarkable how like the thematic consistency. I can hear that what you just said a minute ago about really coming to a record with a particular concept or direction because it really came through on this one. So like what was the main kind of like inspiration behind keying in on this kind of like inward introspection on Headspace?
I think it only made sense because that's where we both were in our lives, based on what was going on in our lives. So I think that that's what just inevitably came out. When we first started thinking about a concept for the album, we were like kind of just using words as placements to like of what the vibe would be. I think we had said like New York City, cold, like like
Gritty.
in the nighttime. Like we had
Yeah.
like we were using things like that. And I think that as we continued to make songs, once we got into a groove of it, because we made a couple songs and then kind of like paused for a moment. And then it's had a time where we really just cranked out a lot of the like the rest of the album. During that time, I think it became clear that like this general idea of like headspace, like where we're at right now, was what we wanted the project to be about. And then it just goes along with the air signs,
Right.
airiness, of it all, just us being in our heads and being adaptable and changing, and being cool with that too.
So yeah, like we had like a theme that we thought we were going for, but it quickly like revealed itself to be like about our personal growth. Like we're both in our late 20s, and in your late 20s, you just go through a lot of growth, and you in your 20s in general. I think in your whole life, right? But this is the prime moment in our lives where we're going through a lot of changes and like learning how to move within life and stuff like that. So yeah, headspace, we're growing, we're going through experiences and learning and stuff. So this is really like a personal growth type of album, like it was meant for the world, but it's also like very like personal, and we grew a lot off of just these experiences and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think actually we're all very similar age. I'm 28, so
Oh, wow.
I
So, yeah.
resonate really hard with a lot of what's being said here because that's just it's like soundtracking the internal dialogue that I feel like I've been having with myself for like the last couple of years now. Because
Yeah.
you're right. I think it's particularly the late 20s where shit just starts to get real. Like you really need
Yeah.
to start making life decisions that are
Yeah.
like, who are you gonna be? You kind of outside of your early 20s where you have some grace and time in the sense of figuring things out, but at some point you gotta make some real decisions at this point that'll push you in a trajectory that'll supposedly solidify the rest of your life. I hate to think about it that concretely because it scares me because I'm like, I don't know if I'm making the right decision, but I think that's kind of in a flip side, very exciting because that's the kind of the way I at least try to frame things, which is like the fact that I'm so scared is a reflection of the fact that it's also means there's a real big value on the other side of it. It's like just the same side of the different side of the same coin.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like the decisions we make right now do shape like a lot of the stuff that comes into our life and stuff like that. So
I mean,
gotta
sheesh.
make good decisions, you know? Like I think I've learned that and like I'm just like, wow, I gotta make like, you know, I gotta make some concrete decisions in my life, you know. So
I mean, the decisions that we make in our early 20s,
exactly.
still show up, So
Mhm.
it is really is just learning that, yeah, what you put out into the world, it doesn't have an effect. If it doesn't have effect on other people, it will have an effect on you. And just having a better understanding of how to make decisions, informed decisions, and just how to navigate through the world in general.
Yeah,
I'm
because we don't
happy.
know this in our early 20s, and I wouldn't
Right.
even want to go ever back to that. And I love them, this information I've learned through lessons and stuff like that. So
And and what's really crazy about this album, I find, is that while we're talking about, it talks about all these really meaty, like quote unquote serious topics. It's not a downer of an album at all. And that's what's really cool because the songwriting is so catchy, beats are so groovy, danceable. And I feel like Masai, you got this like effortless steez. I mean, you've always had it, but it's like it just oozes out of every song. It's so fun. That's why I feel like this album is like fly introspection. Like that's how I put it. It's
yeah,
just so unique.
Mhm.
yeah, because
Thank you.
we're all like we're fun people at the end of the day. We're not just like some like we be going down, we wilding out like in a positive way and maybe sometimes in a negative way, but nobody needs to know that.
Speak for
But
yourself.
you know, you'd be negative too. But anyways, nah, but we're fun. So we're like, you know, we're gonna give you guys a good, like, fun album where you're learning shit, but you're also like having a good time learning things. Like learning things doesn't have to be like this weird place and always like depressive mood. Like, no, you can learn about yourself and have fun while in the process of it. I don't think healing should be you stopping your life, you know what I mean? Like we're in our 20s. We should be having fun right now, you know? So it's like life lessons with some fun.
Right.
I like that. Life lessons with some fun. Yeah, and that brings us to the beats of this thing because I feel compared to the last record, there seemed to be more of a dance element, dare I say? Like and it seems like not only that, like I did kind of mention actually, yeah, like there's a pulsating rhythm on almost all these songs, even when they are a little more low key. And I just feel generally that there's such a like I don't know cohesiveness to this album in the sound is so impressive. So JWords, can you detail like roughly like in general like how you wanted to shape the sound on Headspace and how these beats have evolved since the last record and how your sound has evolved generally?
So for this record, since we like with the label, it was my mission to make all the beats sample-less, like in a way, create all the sounds for the album without using samples, of course, it's, that would have been like expensive or whatever.
Mhm.
So it was a real like challenge, like not a challenge, it was like fun for me to just be able to work with my synthesizer and drum machines to create all the sounds. So, you know, for the first half of the album, like I would say the first 5 songs, I made it with the same type of equipment and stuff like that. Like that's why the bass is so like bassy. I was using this modulator synth from Teen Engineering that like
Mm.
comes out with like glitchy, like cool bass lines basically. And then yeah, for like I would say like the other songs, I was just experimenting with a lot of new gear. I was getting a lot of new gear from a lot of cool companies, and I was just like, oh hell yeah, like the synthesizer in this machine sounds cool, and this sounds cool, and the drum pattern here sounds cool. So I just worked with all my synthesizers and just was able to create that, which I'm like proud of myself because I'm like, damn, I did a sampleless album. That's cool. As a producer, that's like a cool goal to achieve and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm glad that like the beats resonate with people. A lot of hip hop is, sample based. So I'm glad that I was able to like give that feeling without using samples and stuff.
I can definitely see that feeling of it all coming from the same set of equipment because I think that's what made it seem so because I mean this honestly in a positive way, that a lot of the beats, like they felt like from track one to, I don't know how many tracks are on, 14 tracks maybe?
Yeah, 14.
From start to finish, it almost felt like it was one long beat, but there was obviously a ton of variety, but it really felt like everything was coming from the same
Yeah.
source, same musical family, which was just
Mhm.
so impressive. And honestly, a lot of times when I hear an album is sampleless in hip hop, sometimes that gets me quite concerned because I'm like, oh, it's going to be dry, flavorless. I've
Right.
had too many experiences with albums that they try to do that, they hype it up like that, and I'm like, yeah, wish it had samples, but I
Right.
didn't think that at all. I didn't even know that, to be honest. Like it
Right.
wasn't samples. I thought I had to imagine that backwards, the main kind of I'm not a music like person in the sense of instruments, but the main kind of synth melody,
Mhm.
I had to imagine that was a sample at first. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I just played piano and like, you can just sample yourself, which is cool. It's like I've learned a lot like through the process too, and like different loopholes you could create to achieve a certain sound and stuff like that. But yeah, it's all sampleless. Like I played certain stuff and then I'll flip it myself. It's like I'm sampling myself, which is cool. I always love doing. But yeah, and like thinking about Velocity, it was like toxic behavior, like one of the main songs I feel like, or one of the craziest songs we had is sampleless as well. So I think maybe our sound is a lot like going towards just creating a new unique sound for real. Because in Velocity I use a lot of samples too. So this is crazy to see the difference.
Yeah, and I think the colors and the tones musically really fit the lyricism a lot. Like it just hit that nice tone of being kind of melancholy, but again, not too down to
Right.
where it still had
It's
like
like a cool. It's like a nighttime. You going to the club, kind of cool. Like, but it's also like you feeling like I don't know. This is like New York in the wintertime going to the club type of cool. I don't know.
Right.
It's literally cool. Like
Or
it's
like
pretty
going
cool
to the
outside.
bar, maybe.
Going to a bar or something.
Bar that
Yeah.
has like a good DJ.
Right.
Mhm. And yeah, like so like yeah, one of the best aspects of this album for me is how smoothly it plays front to back, the cohesion of the sequencing, like songs flow into one another like water. I really like that transition from rotation to all over the place, where it's definitely like I think you just kind of took a variation of the beat, it
Yeah.
completely just continues. That's just really cool, and it's this album's definitely notable in the fact that there's a lot of shorter songs, and it allowed you guys to fit a ton of different ideas musically and lyrically in just 26, 27 minutes. And so what was the thinking behind making the record in this way, where it's kind of like a little more vignette style?
Well, with the like certain songs, like let's say, At Ease is an interlude. All Over the Place is basically the interlude as well. So I don't really consider it like full song. It's kind of a little snippet to get to the next song. Because we really like that rhythm of the rotation beat. And the last song aired out is also like the outro, and Delicious Time is like the intro. That's why those seem shorter, but they all play like a specific role for the album, basically.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah. And it's kind of like we didn't want to like name them like intro, outro, those things, because
right.
it's like it's all a part of it. And if people want to listen to, because some of them are long enough that they could be thought of as songs. So it's like if
Right.
people want to listen to them as songs, I think that's fire.
Mhm.
But like it is, I feel like it happened that way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if we intentionally were like, yeah, we're just gonna do these really quick, fast.
There's just
Yeah.
no fat on this album, which I just find is so cool. Like it's I think because of the fact the songwriting and the kind of hooks, the flows, the rhythms are so sharp, like all the songs feel like songs. They don't feel like, just some songs, on some albums of this in this vein can be like you really only can listen to it in the structure of the album, but you don't
Mhm.
need to do that with this record. But
Mhm.
even with that being said, this album's definitely like fantastic. Like I sometimes still don't even know the names of tracks because I don't remember I don't think I've ever listened to just like half this album or a few of the
Yeah.
songs. I just always play it front to back and then put my phone away. So it's yeah, it's just a really, really
Or
good,
just
complete project that way.
oh, I
And
see. Yeah. So it goes like you just listen to it and it's
Yeah, I
showing
just
you
play it front
fast.
to back. Like I don't even look
Um,
at what song's playing next because it's
oh,
yeah. And you know, another thing I really like about this record related to the songwriting is that there's a lot more singing moments on
mhm.
this album that I think were fantastic. Like I love Shadow Self for that reason right here, to name a few. Yeah, I just feel like the quality of those kind of moments were just so nice. And those are just one of the ways I feel like I saw like a an evolution between velocity, velocity and headspace. But in your minds, what were some of like the key things you learned from creating velocity that helped you in making headspace this time around?
Well, I always tell Messiah like she needs to sing because she's an amazing singer as well, you know. So this album we definitely like made an made it effort to add more singing songs and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely the singing, definitely in general, just like having a even better synergy with each other from making so much music together beforehand and performing together a lot, you know. Yeah, definitely took that into making Headspace.
And we also, you know, like I said before, like we kind of had to make something better than Velocity because everybody loved that album. So it's just like, all right, well, now we have to kind of make something crazier than this, but more cohesive. It's kind of like we also grew a lot too. Like back when we made Velocity, like we were wild kids. We're just young. We're like 23, 24. You know what I mean? Now we're you know we're older now, so it's kind of like an adult fun album and growth. You know, so I wonder how the next album sounds like.
Yeah.
What kind of stage in our lives we're gonna be in.
Yeah, I remember I saw in a previous interview, Masai, you did with Out the Box TV, that you were saying as a rapper and a woman that you're conscious of people trying to take your rap card away when you rap and sing, which
Mhm.
I definitely have noted. I've definitely experienced that as like a listener. People just start talking about rappers a certain way when they do both as a
Mhm.
woman. But I'm glad you found a way to just say fuck it and dug into the singing bag anyway, because it really adds like such a fresh feel to this record that again makes it so dynamic. That's the word I'd say.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, you know, I rapped enough to, I mean, at this point, if anybody has anything to say about it, it's whatever. Kiss my ass. But but yeah, I love to sing. Like singing sometimes I feel like comes like more instinctually to me than rapping does because I grew up like I'm the type like I'll be singing around my house and stuff like very instinctual energy. So it's nice. It's a different bag for sure, but it's a more vulnerable bag, which I think was cool too. I will say this album too was like there's a lot of things. I think everyone can resonate with it, but it's a lot of things that were like for the girls, like, you know, like
Right.
in a specific way. I feel like, I don't know, just tapping into like a more vulnerable bag in some of these songs. And yeah, I don't know, like right here, just like a lot of it not being so like as angsty,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
as usual
When
type
I
energy.
first met Masai too at that showcase, like we were talking about before, I feel like you mainly just sang there that day, which I didn't know you were a rapper actually. I thought you were just a singer. And then like I heard her rap and I'm like, what the fuck? Like you're mad good at this, like both of this thing, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I always wanted her to like sing more and especially like we didn't do it in Velocity, but I was like definitely like, you should sing on this album.
Yeah, I think the vulnerability definitely shows when you're off a lot more when you're singing. It's it goes for a lot of rappers too. I mean, you actually have a great voice, but even with rappers that quote unquote don't really have a technically good voice, I'm always usually pro a rapper just trying to sing because a
Mhm.
lot of times it sounds dope just because it's just very raw, you know? And yeah, I think, but again, with you, you actually have the chops, so it just adds that level of pop to a lot of these tracks. I feel like on this album, I feel like I know you communicated a lot more of your personality in a way that was like a lot more concrete to where I'm like, oh, I really get where she's at right now. And that's really cool. That's like the mark of great writing, in my opinion. Yeah, what would you say is your favorite songs on the record?
My favorite songs are, I really like Backwards. Like Backwards is one of my favorites. I feel like it's always gonna be. Really like Right Here also. I don't know. Those two songs were just like, I don't know, we made them. I was geeked. So I feel
Obsessed,
like that
obsessed.
energy still like lives
Right.
within me, as you know. And then those are some of the first songs that we've made for the
Mm.
album. And I mean, it kind of changes often. I think I really enjoy Train of Thought.
Oof,
Yeah.
I think Jen will say that that's probably one of her
that's my favorite
favorites.
song. Because Messiah has the best like bar for me in that song. He said,
What's
she
the
said,
bar?
she said, I'm so full. Oh, I haven't ate dinner yet, but I'm so full of myself I could skip it. Yes. I was like, oh yeah. But obsessed with Right Here when I first heard it, I was like, what the fuck? This is so good. I was like it on repeat. Like, and we made that shit in 2021. So Backwards, obviously, when it came, like we made that song right after Velocity. So I was obsessed. Like we listened to it all the time. I really love Glass Ceiling. When Messiah and Samira made that song, they were together, and I had never met Samira before. I guess Messiah had a beat pack and like picked out that beat from the beat pack that I sent, and yeah, and like they wrote that song, and then we all linked up later that night, and they showed me that song, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is so dope. I was so geeked, and obviously I love Down Down Baby, Quelle Chris. I've been listening to his music for like 10 years, so to get him on this album is kind of like one of the best things in
He
the
gave
world.
you a
So
great feature. He gave you guys a
great. When
great
he
feature.
sent that, I was obsessed. I like,
Funny.
yeah, there's different moments I'd be obsessed with like certain like songs. I love Rotation, that beat, and the way Messiah rapped on that. Oh my God, like the best. I was like so yeah, I got surprised every time Messiah sent me a song back actually with all these, and I have my moments with each song.
Yeah, Glass Ceiling is really dope. Samira did a great job. I also like really have to say I did love the EP you guys made.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
That one is really fucking cool.
Yeah, like
Really
my
fucking
favorite
cool.
song on that EP that we all like me and Samara made together is a song that Masai is on too, and this other singer rapper named Diani, and
Hmm.
that beat is just wild for me, and the way that, and I feel like we were there together that day, and we all made that together and stuff like that. So I think Samira and Masai like make great music together, with me producing it or other people. It doesn't matter. But like my dream be like Masai and Nina make an album that I produce. Masai and Samira make an album that I produce. I haven't heard Samira and Nina together yet, but maybe
That
they'll
would
sound
sound
cool.
great. That would
That
Sound
would
sound
cool.
sound
great.
great. I want to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my favorite song I'd say songs are probably Right Here and Shadow Self. So you can tell I really
Oh,
like the
wow.
singing. Like
Mhm.
Backwards, I mean, I don't know. It's just obvious. That one's just such a
Right.
fucking banger. And I also love the teaser when you guys before it came out, like you had like that 30-second, 20-second teaser of just the intro part that I
Mhm.
was just like, whoa, what is this? Like, God, yeah, that was really well
So
done.
fun performing that song because like the beginning intro part and then it drops and everybody gets so souped about it. It's
Yeah,
just
the
good to
way
see.
that's really it. Like that's why Backwards is like one of my favorite songs on the album is because like the beat, the way that the beat drops, I
Just
still
like
don't I still don't fully ever really know.
I didn't even know how I made that. Like I don't even remember. I was just I like a lot of the beats that I make. Like I'll just like be jamming on my gear and I'll record it onto Ableton and then I listen to it back, arrange some things if it needs to be, but usually it doesn't need to be because it's like it comes from a natural place. Like I'm just
Yeah.
jamming now and I think this sounds incredible.
Are these a
So when
lot
I'm
like live done? Like in the sense of like you're oh shit.
yeah, like a lot of them are just like me playing with my gear and then I mean there's obviously I could save like settings in my gear and record them later and record everything one by one, which I did for some of the songs, but some of the songs are the beat just too good that you have to record it right away and you just have that file and like it's technically a demo, but it's so great. I feel like people be trying to overdo things sometimes when they think that something has to be a specific way. If you let things be like what they are, it's very like there's a lot of beauty in that. So I know Backwards was definitely me like fucking around with my gear and that transition, like I like hit a button and then it dropped, and then I had that recording, and thank God, right? Imagine I didn't, then I wouldn't know how to recreate that, you know? So it's just like
Yeah, the groove completely switches like when the beat drops, and it's like, oh, that my head. Oh, okay.
it's like, oh shit, what the
Okay,
fuck?
back in
it. Incredible.
And so, what do you have upcoming when it comes to new music as solo artists or as Air or any other kind of tour merch you want to call out for those listening?
Yeah, so for sure, like we're definitely gonna be performing around or all over the place for this album run. So hoping to definitely tour US and, you know, hopefully go to UK and do some shows out there to definitely have merch drops. We also have a video coming soon. Yeah, we have a video for Reflection that will
The
be
last
out
video.
by the time this will be out, but yeah.
That's sweet. You gotta find a way to come to Toronto. You gotta find a
yeah.
way. Did you guys?
Definitely.
Did you come to Montreal like a couple of
Yeah.
years ago? Because I know
Last year.
JWords you messaged. Yeah. Oh, I wish I was able to go to that. That's so cool.
Yeah, and this year we went to Calgary.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
As separately, not as Air, but like we both got booked on the same festival gig.
Nice. So like as like solo artists, anything that you have like music coming?
I know Maassai you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of like really exciting things that I'm working on right now. Definitely like a follow-up to my construction series that has been in the works for a long time. And some other like album plans. Like that would be an EP, but like an album in the works also. And some other like just multidisciplinary art projects and stuff, some like event curation and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for next year. I think it's going to be a pretty busy art year, including all of the Air stuff, because I'm sure we're just going to continue making stuff.
Me personally, I always do a Bandcamp drop, and I've made a lot of electronic techno stuff recently, so probably gonna drop that soon. But I'm chilling, I'm just enjoying the moments of, the Air celebration, and yeah, so I'm taking it a little bit slow, I think, because it's been a wild like 3 years. Just getting my thoughts together now.
That's good. I'm excited for all of that. And yeah, I just think what you two are doing is so special. Like it's genuinely inspiring. And it's been, real nice getting to know you a bit over this last hour and see that you're just as cool and nice as I would have imagined. Thank you for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun, and just keep doing what you're doing. I feel like even with the acclaim you're getting now, I think it's just the beginning. So just keep doing you.
Thank you so much. And it's good to put a face to the name, because obviously always see your at on the socials and stuff.
Yeah. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and take care.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace. So there we have it. Another episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV. I hope this episode gave you some new perspectives and insights into what the greatest art form known to man in hip-hop music has to offer. If you want to support the show in the most meaningful way possible, it would be my absolute honor to have you as a patron in the new Rap Music Plug podcast Patreon. Through this Patreon, you will be getting exclusive content such as bonus episodes, exclusive album recommendations, exclusive playlists, early access to episodes, and more. And above all, though, you will be able to support the show directly in a way that will not only justify the crazy amount of time I spend on this show already, but allow me to cover some of the expenses related to supporting all of these great artists that we cover on the show through the website, and will allow us to sustain and build on this amazing growth that the RMPP has experienced recently. So if you have any questions about any of the Patreon stuff, or just want to keep tabs on the show, interact with me on rap music and all the great stuff that we can talk about, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at rapmusicplugpod, or shoot me an email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com. You can also rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify as well. But that's enough self-promotion for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.